Super Sentai has finally ended, leaving behind a legacy of 50 different teams, and one thing that makes every single team stand out is their unique identity, something you can often recognize instantly just by looking at their costumes. So I decided to go through every Super Sentai team ever created, and in this video I've grouped them based on their color lineups. After looking through all of them, I found that there are at least 14 different color patterns across the entire franchise. Some of these patterns became incredibly popular, while others are so unique that only one team ever used them. Now, this might be a bit of a long journey, so sit back, relax, and let's start the video. For our first segment, we're kicking things off with the most commonly used color pattern in Super Sentai history: red, blue, green, yellow, and pink. This color formation has been used in at least 16 different seasons, and it's been around since the very first Super Sentai season ever. Yep, it was first used in Himitsu Sentai Gorenja, and then we got Denji Sentai Denjiman, Chorenshi Bioman, Choshinsei Flashman, Gosei Sentai Dairenja, Choriki Sentai Oranger, Gekiso Sentai Car Ranger, Seiju Sentai Gingaman, QQ Sentai Gogo 5, Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, Tokuso Sentai Deka Ranger, Maho Sentai Maji Ranger, Samurai Sentai Shinkenja, Kaijoku Sentai Gokeija, Resha Sentai Tokyuja, and Mashin Sentai Kirameja. Most of the time, this lineup consists of 3 male rangers and 2 female rangers. However, certain colors like blue, yellow, and even green have swapped genders in different seasons. Yup, this color lineup has become iconic within the franchise. Next up, we have another classic color pattern: red, blue, black, yellow, and pink. This lineup looks pretty similar to the previous one. We just replaced green with black. Some seasons that used this pattern include Dai Sentai Gogol V, Kagaku Sentai Dynaman, Hikari Sentai Maskman, Kosoku Sentai Turbo Ranger, Chikyu Sentai 5-man, Kyoryu Sentai Ju Ranger, Denji Sentai Mega Ranger, Gogo Sentai Bokenja, Tenso Sentai Gosaija, and Avatar Sentai Dawn Brothers. Overall, this color pattern has been repeated 10 times across the franchise. Dawn Brothers has become one of the most unique seasons when it comes to Ranger color dynamics. It was the first series to feature a male Pink Ranger in the main team, and so far it's still the only one to do it. On top of that, Dawn Brothers is also the only Super Sentai series to include a fully CGI Ranger as part of the team. Next up, the core team only consists of 3 Rangers. And yup, the color pattern is red, blue, and yellow. Even though it only has 3 core Rangers, this lineup actually ranks among the top 3 most frequently used color patterns in Super Sentai history. The very first team to use this format was Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan in 1981. Years later, the pattern made a comeback in Nimpu Sentai Harikenja, then we saw it again in Bakuryu Sentai Abarenja. Geki Ranger followed in 2007 and Tokume Sentai Go Busters in 2012. Finally, Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger became the most recent team to use this color lineup. So in total, this red-blue-yellow pattern has been used in 6 different seasons across the franchise. Most of these seasons eventually introduced extra rangers. Sometimes it's a single additional ranger joining the team, and other times it's actually a duo. The next color pattern, we've got red, blue, green, black, and yellow. This formation was first introduced in 1988 with Choju Sentai Lifeman. Lifeman actually started off as a 3-member team, then, halfway through the season, they gained new allies, Black Bison and Green Sai. Fast forward to 2006, the same format returned in Engine Sentai Go Onja. Then in 2025, Gozuja brought back the same pattern, but sadly that season ended up being the final Super Sentai season ever produced. So overall, this color pattern has only been used 3 times across the entire Super Sentai franchise. Besides sharing the same color scheme, these 3 seasons also have the exact same ranger ratio with 4 male rangers and 1 female ranger. Next up, we have the red, blue, black, yellow, and white color pattern. The very first team to use this lineup was Chojin Sentai Jetman in 1991. Then we've got Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger, which aired back in 1994. Kaku Ranger wasn't just another season, it was actually the first ninja-themed season in Super Sentai history. This pattern came back in 2001 with Gao Ranger, the 25th anniversary season of Super Sentai. This season focused on wild animals and the power of nature, so aesthetically and thematically, it had a totally different vibe. But despite that, the core color structure was exactly the same. So in total, only 3 teams have ever used this pattern. We've mentioned 38 teams so far, which is already more than half. Well, let's just keep going. Next, red, blue, black, green, and pink. The first team to use this pattern was Zuden Sentai Kyoryuja in 2013, then in 2019, Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulja Arid, and became the second team to use the same color formation. When you really look at it, these 2 seasons also have a lot in common. For example, both teams had a lineup of 4 male rangers and 1 female ranger. On top of that, both series also used gold as their 6th ranger. Yep, they're both dinosaur-themed seasons, they have the same color lineup, the same ranger ratio, and they use pink as the one and only female ranger in their core team. Okay, so next up, red, blue, yellow, pink, and white. The first team to use this formation was Shuriken Sentai Ninja back in 2015. Then, fast forward to 2021, we get Kikai Sentai Zenkaija. The season that really stood out here was definitely Zenkaija. Well, instead of being led by a Red Ranger like almost every other Sentai team out there, this team was officially led by a White Ranger. On top of that, instead of the usual humanoid suits we're used to, the 4 core members actually had full-on mecha or Zord-like bodies, which made this season really unique compared to all the other Super Sentai seasons. And finally, the last color pattern that has only been used by 2 different seasons is red, blue, black, orange, and pink. The very first time this lineup appeared was in the 3rd Super Sentai season, Battle Fever J. There were so many unique things about that season, but the most eye-catching detail was definitely the helmets. They all had the same visor design with 2 eyes on it, but the most unique one was definitely the Pink Ranger because she actually wore a wig as part of her suit. So it took about 45 years for this exact color scheme to be used again. And finally, as the 48th Super Sentai series, Bunbumja brought the pattern back. Orange Rangers are honestly one of the rarest colors in the entire series. And so far, these 2 teams can safely be considered 2 of the only 3 teams to feature an Orange Ranger as a main core member from the beginning. Alright, now we're down to the final 6 Super Sentai teams that haven't been mentioned yet, and in fact, their color formations have never been reused in any other season. So let's start with the first one, Uchu Sentai Q Ranger. Most Super Sentai teams usually have 5 members and sometimes only 3, but Q Ranger actually has 9 rangers in its core team. So they basically use almost every color you can think of, even orange, which is considered the rarest color in the franchise. Q Ranger is the only Super Sentai team in history to launch with 9 core members, so that's exactly what makes this season really stand out, especially because of its color lineup. Jaka Dengekitai. It's actually the 2nd Super Sentai series, which aired back in 1977. Unlike most Super Sentai seasons that start with 5 or 3 members, Jaka debuted with only 4 core members, and fitting with the title, each member was named after playing cards: Jack, Ace, King, and Queen. That 4-member formation stayed consistent for a while, but then, around episode 23, the team finally gained a 5th member, a White Ranger. Now honestly, if you look at their colors, they're not that unusual. They actually used what we'd consider pretty standard Ranger colors with red, blue, green, pink, and white. However, this team remains the only one that uses this exact color lineup. Next up, Keisatsu Sentai Pato Ranger. This season was the 43rd entry in Super Sentai, and more importantly, it gave us 2 different Super Sentai teams in one single season. On one side, we had Lupin Ranger, which we already talked about earlier, but on the other side, we had Pato Ranger, which came in with a red, green, and pink color scheme. Well, since Lupin Ranger was already using red, blue, and yellow in the same season, it would have felt really strange if Pato Ranger showed up with the exact same lineup. Honestly, that would have been confusing. Therefore, giving them a distinct lineup was not just logical, it was necessary. So with this color pattern, Pato Ranger became the only Super Sentai team that does not have a Blue Ranger in its main lineup. Next up, Dobutsu Sentai Zyuocha. Now this season brings us back to the wild animal theme, featuring a red, blue, yellow, green, and white color formation. Well, if you compare it to Gao Ranger, which was also animal-themed, the pattern looks very similar. You're basically just swapping black for green. As we know, Gao Ranger was the 25th anniversary season of Super Sentai, and interestingly, Zyuohja was also an anniversary season, precisely the 40th. They even use almost the same animal motifs, with the elephant being the only difference. And yup, this exact red, blue, yellow, green and white combination has never been reused in any other Super Sentai season. Next, Osama Sentai King Ohja. Now this season is really special when it comes to its color lineup. Yep, for the first time in Super Sentai history, we finally got a Purple Ranger as part of the main core team. In fact, purple or violet is actually one of the rarest colors in the entire franchise. Usually, when we see a Purple Ranger, they tend to appear as the 6th Ranger, or sometimes as an extra Ranger. They're almost never part of the main starting lineup. So, overall, King Ohja remains the only Super Sentai team to feature a Purple Ranger as part of its core lineup, and because of that, this exact color formation has only been used once in the entire franchise. Dengeki Sentai Changeman. Changeman aired in 1985 and was the 9th Super Sentai series. The team consisted of red, blue, black, pink and white. And honestly, that sounds pretty standard. We've seen those colors used in plenty of other seasons, but surprisingly, Changeman is the only Super Sentai team with this exact color lineup. This season marked the very first time a female White Ranger was introduced in Super Sentai history, and interestingly, it was the last season to feature both a pink and a White Ranger together on the main team for a very long time. It wouldn't happen again until about 30 years later with Shuriken Sentai Ninja. So even though the colors look pretty common, this particular formation ended up becoming one of the rarest in the entire franchise. So, there you have it. From the iconic lineups we know by heart to those 6 legendary teams that dared to be different just once. It's wild to see how much thought goes into just picking a color palette for 50 years of history. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hitting that subscribe button would mean the world. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.